I'd like to share my screen, so let me make sure I can share my screen and you can see my slides. Let me just double check to make sure that everybody can see this screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes, Dave.
Gusti? Okay, thank you. First of all, let me say I'm just humbled and honored to begin a Monday morning with you, the beginning of a good week around in Indonesia for leaders and for organizations and the board members. I'm especially thankful for the sponsors. As I've noted here, thank you for your encouragement and your sponsorship. I am going to begin with the end. I know people often want copies of slides, so here's a QR code and here's a website where you can get copies of the slides. We're also taping this. You can get a copy of the tape, and I hope you'll follow me. And so let me just introduce a little bit what I hope to do today while you can write down the QR code or take a picture of it if you'd like. I'm a professor at the School of Business, in the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. And I spend a great deal of my time until the last 3 months when I've not been traveling, going to companies and try to figure out how does a company succeed in a changing marketplace. Now, I'm going to share with you one of the things that's really fun, and I wish I could be there in person in Indonesia. We have about 1,000 people observing and others watching the video. But one of the things that's fun is when you get to come to my office and you're in my home, I can share more personal things with you. So I will share a couple of personal things that describe what I hope to do today. This is one. This is my dissertation. It's the research I did many years ago with an enormous amount of statistics. I did statistics before they were even popular to do statistics. And my dissertation is on what's called taxonomy. Taxonomy is the science of simplicity. How do you take something very complicated and make it simple? And that's what I hope to do today. I hope to take this complicated issue of next generation leadership and agility and make it simple. By the way, I should give you a warning. When I did my dissertation, there was a group called University Microfilms that sold the dissertation. And you won't be able to see it here, but it took me 2 years to do my dissertation, and I made $11.85 US. So for 2 years, I got paid $11, and I've kept the check because it shows you the value of that work. But I'm going to simplify, and I'm going to try to help you get to know a little bit about my orientation and ideas. I love statistics, and this is just a backdrop. As we see the future and agility for next generation leaders in Indonesia, I've done a lot of research with my colleagues around talent. We collected data on 450 companies throughout Asia to figure out what do we do to drive and encourage people. We've done a lot of work on organizations. How do you define capabilities like agility? And how do you intervene? And we've written 10 books on organizations. You introduced me graciously as human resources. We've done an enormous amount of research on human resources. We've got 30 years of data with 100,000 people in a dozen books. But on the bottom left, we've studied leadership. And that's what we're going to focus on a little more tonight, is what's the next generation leadership, particularly around agility? And how do we begin to make that happen? And so tonight, I'm going to turn all of that data into something fairly simple. My goal is to give each of you who are listening some ideas, some ways of thinking that will have impact, that you can use in a very concrete way to help you be better as an agile leader and to help your organizations build agility. In the pre-work, working with Panji, and my great appreciation to Panji for the service, I was told that many of the folks on the call are on boards of directors, and many others are leaders from high to middle in their company. I'm going to talk very briefly about boards, and then I'm going to answer 5 questions. Why agility matters today in firms in Indonesia, in Latin America, in Russia, in Europe. Why agility matters, so you can have a case for agility. What agility means, and what are 4 definitions of agility? Where agility applies, and I'm going to talk about 4 places where we should use agility. How do you institutionalize it? How do you institutionalize agility? Through our human resource systems. And I'll talk about 4 practices. And very finally at the end, who? What are the implications for the boards and for leaders all the way through the company? When you're done, I hope you'll have an ability to better create the next generation leadership and the agility required for success. And I know we're going to answer questions, and I appreciate Gusti monitoring the questions, and I'll turn to you as our expert moderator and see, are there questions as we go through? And I'll stop once in a while to respond, and then at the end have more time. I should also say that there are people here from both private and public sector. I do most of my work in the private sector, but I've also done work in the public sector. I said I'd share at a personal level. My father worked in the public sector. He was a forester, and then he worked in social service programs. A few years ago, my children made up a book about my father that I could read to my grandchildren. So this is a drawing of my father. This is your great-great-grandpa. This is a picture of my father on their anniversary. And this is a picture of my father and his truck. So that's my father. In America right now, it's Father's Day. And it's a day that we pay tribute to our fathers. So let me pay tribute to my father who worked in the public sector. My father taught me aggressively that what we do in the public sector is to serve. And so if you're a leader in the public sector, I hope you have that ethos of service. In fact, just an image of my dad. When my dad retired, every day he would take his truck and go to a local store and pick up day-old food and take it to the needy. And so for 15 years of his life, he would pick up food in his truck and take it to those in need. I appreciate public sector. Okay. Having said all that, I'm grateful for the sponsors. I'm so privileged, and I wish I could be with you in person, but I'll let you inside my home in some very personal ways as a recompense. I'm going to cover a lot of material, and I know that in the next 90, 80 minutes, 70 minutes, you're going to get overwhelmed. You can get a copy of the slides, and we're going to answer some very simple questions. The first question is, what do boards of directors do and senior leaders do? What do? They review things that help us succeed. They advise, they oversee, and they manage. So where should boards focus their attention? And where should I as a leader focus my attention to help my company, public sector or private, be successful? We've discovered that in the content at the top left, boards and senior leaders should focus on 4 things: financial, strategic, operational, and organization or technology. And so here's the question that we often ask. In order for a company to succeed in the marketplace and sustain our growth, top and bottom line, we have to focus on the items in blue. Strategy. We need to know our business. Where are we going to compete? Where are we going to win? How are we going to win? What's our strategic agenda? Financial. We have to make money. If we don't make money, we don't succeed. We have to have access to capital. We have to manage our capital structure, the way we borrow money and manage risk. Technology or operations, we have to manage information systems, digital, critical issue, operations and work. Those issues in blue become so critical for us to succeed. Strategy, where are we going? Financial, are we successful in getting there? Technology, do we have the systems to sustain it? But the item in yellow is the organization. If we can't build a successful organization, our strategy is a vision without action. Our financial agenda is a set of hopes without reality. And our technology is a set of data without application. It's the organization that becomes so critical to our success today. Now, what is that organization? It's our talent, the people, the workforce. It's our organization, the culture, the workplace, and it's leadership that combines those. We need to recognize as members of boards and senior leaders or leaders throughout a company that we've got to manage strategy, technology, and financial through the organization we create. one of the great exercises you might want to do in your company, and I'm going to give you a number of these, is to go to your senior business team and say, here's 4 ways that we have to work to compete. Strategic agenda, what's our business, where are we going to play, how do we win, what's our vision. Financial, how are we going to create profit, how do we have access to capital, how do we have capital structure and risk. Technology and operations, how do we manage digital, technology, and organization. And then ask each member of your business team to divide 100 points. Which ones of those should we focus on now for us to be successful? Where should we focus to be successful and to succeed in the marketplace? I highlight in yellow organization because almost every company I work with, public sector or private sector, the organizational capability generally gets 35 to 45 points. It doesn't get all the points. Sometimes our strategy is unclear in the public sector, or sometimes we don't have access to capital, financial. But generally, it's the organization that forces us to win. So here's the question we're going to answer tonight, or this morning for you. It's tonight for me. I apologize. How can I, as a board member or a senior business executive or a leader, help create a more effective organization? You know, each of you have assumptions about that right now. If I had time, it would be so great to engage you. What do I think I need to do to build a better organization? And what I'm going to do is give you 6 or 7 points that will help you create a more effective and successful organization. So I've done my first piece, the role of boards and leaders. The boards and senior leaders have financial, strategic, technology, and organizational stewardship. And I highlight in red the stewardship tonight that we'll focus on around organization. So let me go to my second bullet. Why is agility so critical to organization? Why is agility so critical? I'm going to begin that with a test. And it's a fun test, and I wish I could see everybody's picture, but we have 800, 900 people, so I can't. I should ask the panelists to share with me their answer. But let me give you a very simple test. So play with me, and if you're with somebody, you could invite them to join you on this test. I can do the right thing, or I can do the wrong thing. I do the right thing, I do the wrong thing. I can do it well, or I do it poorly. So I've got right, wrong, well, and poorly. What's the best cell to be in? By the way, if you have trouble answering that question, there is not much hope for you as a leader. It's obviously cell 1. I want to do the right thing and I want to do it well. We know that. I want to do the right thing and I want to do it well. So what's the worst cell to be in? 2, 3, or 4? And I won't embarrass you, Gusti or Indria as moderators, but it's interesting that people could hold up their fingers. Most people say cell 4, and I think they're wrong. I think the worst cell to be in is cell 2, and here's why. I do something very, very well, and it's the right thing to do, but the environment has changed. The world changes, and the right thing becomes the wrong thing. For example, one of the sponsors of this session is learning. Learning is no longer what it was even 3 months ago. And the right way to learn is evolving, and I've got to change. When the environment changes, I have to change. That's the assumption. And if we live in a world that's changing, the right thing becomes the wrong thing, but we keep doing it. In the automotive industry, we made long assembly line cars. Wrong thing to do. In the retail industry, we built big footprints of retail stores, but along comes Amazon and other online retailers. Big footprint is the wrong thing to do. We need to avoid cell 2. So how do we do that? Let me hit an assumption, and then I'm going to dive deep into something I was counseled to talk about. The assumption is very simple. Content, what we do, is the king. But the context is the kingdom. In other words, the setting in which we work determines what we should do. That's true in Jakarta, it's true in Singapore, it's true in Bombay, it's true in the United States. So what are the challenges in the world? What's the context that sets the kingdom for the things we need to do? A couple of years ago, a number of years ago, actually, a company I know that's in 80 countries in the world, they came to me and they said, Dave, when I visit a country like Indonesia or Taiwan or China, what should I look at that tells me about the context? And we identified 6 things, and they're very simple. What are the social trends in that country? So what are the social trends in Indonesia? What are the technical trends? Technology, digitization. What are the economic trends? The global markets and competitors. What are the political trends? And there's political issues in almost every country. What are the environmental trends, the social responsibility, and what are demographic trends? If I understand those trends, I have a way to understand the context. So if I go into a country in Malaysia, and I say socially, what's happening in Malaysia around families and diversity, technology, economics, political, environmental, and demographic. But if I had to pick one of those 6, it's technology. The technology world we live in is changing so dramatically, and it forces us to rethink. And so I'm going to spend just 5 or 6 minutes. What's happening in the world of technology that forces us to become more agile? And I think we all get it. The fact that we're doing this session, I'm sitting in my house in the United States, 13 hours away from you. I could look inside other people's houses. I could look inside Gusti's house and see what's behind her. I don't know if you're at home, Gusti, or in an office. Are you at home or in an office?
In an office, in the LPB's office.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's much better to be at home, because if you're at home, you can show pictures of your father. And oh, this is the favorite picture. That's what I look like now when I go to sleep. It's so different to live in this technology world. So let me take you on about a 7-minute journey of what technology is changing so that we have to become more agile. I'd love to start with a test. Here's 30 words of technology, and you could probably add to it. Do I understand drones? Do I understand artificial intelligence? Do I understand blockchain? Do I understand machine learning, virtual reality, Internet of Things, gamification? These are the lingo of technology. And all of this is happening in the last few years in a dramatic way. And it's changing almost every industry we're a part of. And I know we have people from every industry. It's changing transportation to driverless cars. Quick anecdote, probably about 7 years ago, my wife and I were driving on a freeway in California, and it's where some of the early driverless cars were. We drove by one of these cars that did not have a driver. It was an automated car. And I knew it was the automated car. It had satellite dishes and pictures. And on the opposite seat, and I don't know if Indonesia drives in the left or the right, but there was nobody sitting behind the steering wheel. And this was the driverless automated vehicle. And there was just an article in America 7 years ago. This car has 100,000 kilometers and no accident. So we're driving down the freeway, and I say to my wife, that's the driverless car. It's got 100,000 kilometers with no accident. And I looked at her and I grinned and I said, let's change that. Let's run into it and create an accident. And my wife quickly said, Dave, do not do that. Do not do that. It's not funny. By the way, that's bad humor. But transportation has changed. We have, and I don't know which service it is in Indonesia, but we have Uber, we have Didi in China. Retail is changing. Online shopping versus in-store shopping in a huge way. Medicine, telehealth. I'm now doing diagnostics, doctor on demand. Robots are doing cybernetics, connection to the body. This machine is no longer a phone. This machine is now a body monitor, and it monitors my phone in real ways. Manufacturing, food, delivery kits, lodging, education, and this is an example. I should add public sector. I think Singapore has done some brilliant work around public sector service and diagnosing. Technology is changing our world in a huge way. So in my simple mind, what does technology mean? So here's what it means. We have to invest in new technology, artificial intelligence, robots, Internet of Things, so that we succeed in the marketplace. Financially, we have to manage our costs and create market value. Strategically, we have to be in the right business. You can't just be in a retail physical footprint. You have to be online. And technology, we can't do manufacturing the way we did it. So how do we invest in technology to succeed in the marketplace? And here's the answer. We have to access digital information. All that technology does is give me information. It gives me information about what the customer wants, what the employee needs, and gives me information about time and space and cost. Our job, if we're going to live in a digital world, is to create the organizational capability to deliver asymmetry or information through digital. That's it. In this digital world, with all of these new technologies coming, cloud data changing our world, hygiene, recommendations, and what it's done is it's gone through some stages. When the virus started in January, February, it was like an accident. And you've got to respond. You've got to be a first responder. You've got to react. You've got to stop the bleeding. So people worked at home. We wore masks everywhere. We responded quickly. Then in terms of an accident, we got in an ambulance and we went to a hospital. And there we're trying to recover. So for the last 12 weeks, we've been in a recovery mode. Hospital, you get solutions. We're learning now to live with this pandemic. And then we go home again. And we've got to reinvent. We've got to embed those new learnings and adapt. In an accident case, some of that reinvention may be fundamental. For example, tragically, if you lost a limb, an arm or a hand or an eye in an accident, you've got to get a whole new identity. But a lot of us go home from an accident and we adapt to the new circumstances. That's where we are in the world right now in this pandemic. We're moving from recovery to reinvention. Okay, take a deep breath. I have just covered a lot of material, but it's a very, very simple logic. Content, what we do is critical. The context is the kingdom where we do it. And so how should boards and leaders respond to the digital transformation that's so prevalent and to the corona crisis? And there will be other crises. In the United States right now, we're facing a social crisis around racial inequality. I don't know what the crisis will be in Indonesia, but I almost guarantee that in the next 5 or 10 years, there will be one. How do we as leaders and boards respond? On the one side is a threat. We see what's wrong. We have people who are afraid and anxious and hopeless. Our organizations have low morale and strategic uncertainty or haze. Leaders are disoriented. On the right-hand side, we discover opportunity. And in the middle of a crisis, we focus on strengths. We give people a sense of hope, a sense of optimism. We create an organizational condition in red, which is what I'm going to focus on, of well-being, the right culture, and our leaders empower others. Take a step with me. I'm going to go one more step in this first question of why agility matters. In this organizational agenda, there are 3 things we can look at. Individual talent. Again, it would be fun if I saw you and I had everybody raise their 5 fingers. That's individual talent. Those are my people. Organization. The individuals are the 5 people that are talent. The organization is the culture, the workplace, the systems. And leaders combine the 2. Let me say that again. If I, as a board of director member or a senior leader or a leader in the middle of a company or a human resource professional, want to help my organization succeed in the marketplace, I've got to have individual talent, I've got to have great organization, culture, and I've got to have leadership that combines the 2. That's it. That's such a simple typology. We've done that in public sector. Since I know I got a question about public sector, Pet Kemlo in Singapore, and I know Singapore is a neighboring country that has a great reputation for many good things, and one is public service. Pat Kem has said in every ministry, in every agency, in every group in the public sector, the business leadership team and the HR leadership team will ask 3 questions about their organization. Do we have the right talent? Move your fingers. Do we have the right organization, the culture, and do we have the right leadership? Those 3 things give me an organization that is successful in a changing marketplace. So I just went back. Instead of being threatened, we see opportunity and we create talent, leadership, and organization. Now I'm going to give you a test. And if I was wise, I'd have made this a poll, but I think polls distract, but it's really fun. If you had 10 points to divide, what matters more for business success? Is it the talent, my 5 fingers? Woo, we got to have good people. Or is it the organization, my fist? And I'm going to hold off on leadership for just a minute. What causes us to win? Talent or organization? I've given you a hint by the titles of the books. Here's what we find. 8-2 organization. 8-2 organization. The quality of organization has 4 times the impact on business success and customers and investors than does the talent. What an organization does is it takes the individual talent, the ingredients, and creates a great outcome. On Sunday today in our home, we were celebrating Father's Day, and I shouldn't have confessed this, I like banana bread. So I was at a church meeting, and there were some people at our home, and they took the ingredients: flour, sugar, eggs, bananas, nuts, oil. And when I got home, they had turned those individual ingredients into a loaf of banana bread. By the way, I would show you the loaf of banana bread, but I ate it all. So it's down here in my stomach. And I won't show you my stomach because that's where the banana bread is. Not all of it, but I ate most of it. That's what an individual has. You have the individual ingredients, but you create a great organization. That same phenomena, the organization is more important than the individual, is true in sports. I know Indonesia, I don't think Indonesia has yet won the World Cup. In fact, that was kind of a joke. That's not Indonesia's forte, that's not your strength. But here's another test. How often is the leading scorer? He scores the most goals in the World Cup on the team that wins the World Cup. And it's very interesting. 20% of the time. 20% of the time, the individual talent, the man who scores the most goals, is on the team that wins. 80% of the time, it's teamwork. It's very interesting. That's true in every team sport. It's true in hockey, which I know Indonesia doesn't do as either. It's true in every team sport. The talent is less important than the teamwork. It's also true in movies. We looked, how often is the leading actor or actress in the movie that wins Movie of the Year? And so these are the last 10 movies of the year. How often is the leading actor or actress in the movie that wins Movie of the Year? And the answer is 20%. 20% of the time, the best talent wins. This year, the Movie of the Year is down towards the bottom left. It's called Parasite, the movie from Korea with subtitles. I hope people have seen it. I have not seen it. Great movie. That movie won Movie of the Year, but neither actor or actress was the actress of the year. But the director, remember, you got talent, you got organization, you got leadership. The director is in the movie that wins Movie of the Year 80% of the time. Let me say that again. The directors are in the movie that wins Movie of the Year 80% of the time. So this year, Parasite wins Movie of the Year, and the director is the Director of the Year. Whoa, take a breath. What does all this mean? We have to create the right organization. The team, the organization is more important than any of the individuals. And when we create that right organization, we succeed, much more successful. So the organization is taking individuals and melding them to teams. It's taking technical skills and building social skills. in our research on organizations over the last 40 years, what are the key capabilities of a successful organization? 25 or 30 years ago, we said it's all about talent. You got to have the right competence, the right workforce, the right people. Then we said it's about customers. Are the talent and the people we have serving our customers? And we correlated talent and customer. Then we said it's about innovation and breakthrough, innovation, breakthrough, invention, doing new things. Then we said it's collaboration and teamwork. A few years ago, culture was the word of the year. Today, it's agility. What does my organization have to be good at? Now, you can't have agility without the culture, without the collaboration, without innovation. But the evolution of the critical organizational capabilities is quickly moving to agility. And the answer why is really simple, because the world is changing. I could go back. The world is changing so quickly. 12 weeks ago, I would never have dreamed that I'd have the privilege of doing a workshop with 1,000 people in Indonesia sitting in my home. It would not have been even remotely possible. Today, it's not only possible, we're doing it. And it's not the same as being in person, but it's getting better. So, take a deep breath. Here's one thing I hope you walk away with. How can I, as a board or senior business executive, help companies, help my company, or help create a more agile organization? Number one, recognize that organizational agility is the key to market success. If I don't manage my organization and move quickly, I will not succeed. That's it. That's the first premise. And the test of my commitment and recognition, am I as a board member and am I as a business leader or an HR leader spending time on agility? So I've answered my first two bullets. Take a deep breath. I've gone quickly. I think I'm going to do one more bullet and then I'll see if there are any questions, maybe 3 or 4 questions, Gusti, just to break up this presentation. But let me do one more piece. I've talked about ideas with impact with the boards. We can have financial, strategic, and technological, but we have to build an organization. Digital transformation that's happening all around us, the corona crisis and a future crisis in Indonesia, requires discovery of new organizational capabilities, particularly agility. So what does agility mean? Let me talk about this, then we'll take a break and see if there are a couple of questions. You know, I started going through my books and readings, and I started looking at all the terms that are used to define agility. Change, transformation, renewal, reimagination, reinvention, grit, speed, revival, shift. You know, you probably got some of your own terms that I don't have. I looked at some of the books. Agility is strategic shift. Agility, the agility factor, built to change. Great book. The Age of Agile. There's a new book coming out on learning agility that has, I think, 17 chapters. It just went to the printer in May, and I don't have that. They don't have their cover yet. There is a lot of stuff. Now, remember, I made $11. I made $11.85 by being a taxonomist. Remember what a taxonomist does. A taxonomist says, take something really complex and make it simple. So look at all the complexity. There are books out there about learning and reinvention. What is a simple definition of agility? And here it is. Agility means 4 things. To create a future. Agility is not focused on the past. It's very nice to focus on, look where I've been. It's creating a future that anticipates what can be. The future is not bleak, it's an opportunity. I think a lot of times we look at agility as resilience. Resilience is often overcoming the past. Grit. Agility is creating a future that I can anticipate. And I hope this doesn't offend. I'll use a religious example that I think would apply across many different religions. Some prophets tell their people they're going to go to hell if they don't repent. Other prophets tell their people they can go to heaven, and they give them a pathway to get there. I think agility is the second. It's creating a vision, a sense of the future. And here's the opportunity that future provides. Number three, you got to move quick. Agility means speed. You got to move quick. You can't wait. You can't be the fourth follower. What they find in retail and manufacturing and consumer goods, the first mover often gets 40 to 50% of a market. And you got to learn. Failure is an opportunity to learn. I should have brought the pillow. I made my wife a pillow that says, failure is an opportunity to learn. And she said, is that about our marriage? And I said, no, our marriage is terrific. But failure allows me to learn. That's it. Of all of these complex ideas, many of which could have an individual book written. And I love these books. They're great books. There's other books coming. By the way, if you don't like these four, you can tweak them. But try to say from all that stuff, there's four messages. Focus on the future. Envision opportunity. Adapt quickly and learn always, so that we win, we thrive, we succeed in the changing world. That's what I mean by agility. Now, I'm going to lay out one more thing, and this is going to be a tape. You know what? I'm going to stop. Before I go to my one more thing, let me say, Gusti, are there any questions or comments? And let's try to do maybe 3 at this point so that we don't get distracted. I still have more to go.
Okay.
But if there are any questions, let me turn to you. Thank you.